think that the book is really trying to expose in a slightly different way things that most women already know. And most women know that their voices aren't heard in quite the same way that men's voices are, that it's harder to get your point made in public, it's harder to get into politics, and that can be politics in a national or international level, but it can also be politics of the workplace, it can be the office, the school, the shop. I mean, I say that women know about their exclusion from those. So you don't have to kind of, well, you meet somebody, it doesn't come as a surprise to any woman that other women feel they too are excluded. And we also know that that there are exceptions to that, but they are exceptions. Margaret Thatcher in the UK didn't do much for women in general. So I'm starting from a kind of position that is familiar to women, but I'm trying then to say, look, we can think about this in a different way. The way I choose to think about that is through the work I do on the ancient world, particularly the Romans and the Greeks, and say, look, when I look back to antiquity, I see those very similar things happening there too. Some of them more obvious, like, women in Greece and Rome aren't allowed to vote, but in terms of things like how women sound, how they speak, how they're described when they speak in public, as if they were yapping like a dog or mooing like a cow. Those are themes that we still find today. Women, certainly speaking in English, women still whine when they complain. You could never say that a man whined. It's not a word that you could use of a man. It's trying to say, look, this isn't a problem that we've just seen or just invented. This is a problem that culture has had for millennia, and that partly we are the inheritors of a set of assumptions that we were brought up with, that our parents were brought up with, and their parents, and and on back. Now, in some ways that might sound very gloomy, because one reaction might be to say, well, if it goes all the way back to 2500 BC, whatever, what we haven't got a hope, right? But I don't mean it to be gloomy. I mean it to be realistic, and to say, look, if we want to change these things, as I think we do, we have to think about those assumptions that we do inherit, and we have to think how we challenge those assumptions. And that is a different problem, possibly a bigger problem. It's a different problem from some of the practical rights that we also think are important, like equal pay for women, maternity rights for women, whatever. I think we have to say there's that long history of putting women outside politics or outside the public sphere. That long history is something which demands that we look very closely at how we have been brought up to think about how we do, how we use language, how we might challenge those stereotypes. And they're stereotypes also that we all have. It's not, the stereotypes about women in public life are not just stereotypes in the heads of men, they're also stereotypes in the heads of women, however much women also want to challenge them. So I think it's saying, look, in order really to take a big step on, we've now got to think about how we have been brought up to think about women, what we kind of take as normal. We think it is still fairly normal that politicians, most of them, when we see them in their pictures taken, there's a load of blokes in suits, right? Now, I think we want to get to a world in which that isn't normal, but in order to do that, we've got to start to think why we think it's normal anyway. So it's about exposing the roots of it in order to open it up to challenge.